What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to have a deep look at the bipod attachments in Modern Warfare 2 to let you guys know exactly how they work, and also to let you guys know that they don't work at all like they did in Modern Warfare 2019. And diving right in, when you look at the descriptions for the bipods, every single one of them has a slightly different wording, but they essentially get to the same point. And this point is you gain a secure firing position or less recoil, better recoil stabilization. They word it in different ways, but they also specifically mention when prone or mounted against a horizontal surface. So let's start this breakdown off by just testing those stated benefits that we get with the bipod attachments. And with this, I just tested all of the bipods that are available on the M4. There are technically other bipods out there, but I just wanted to see first if there's any big difference between each of these bipods when it comes to your recoil. And the first type of recoil I wanted to test is with horizontal mounting. So I have a baseline where I don't have a bipod, but I'm still mounting on a horizontal surface. And then I tested each of the bipod attachments from the exact same position. And let's have a look at the side-by-side comparison here. As we can see here, it looks like there's not a massive difference between using a bipod and not using a bipod if you're mounting on a horizontal surface. Some of them definitely seem to give you a little bit better recoil, like the Cornerstone for instance. That one appears to help the most with our recoil control while mounted on a horizontal surface. But at the end of the day, when you compare all of these to just the base recoil without a bipod equipped, it's not like they're giving you a massive advantage here. Honestly, you're going to be very accurate either way you slice it, and you're probably not even going to notice much of a difference in the game, if at all. What about prone though? Once again, I did the exact same tests here. However, it is worth noting this time, if you don't have a bipod and you're laying prone, you don't have the ability to mount your gun. It's just not possible. Whereas with a bipod, the big benefit you gain here is if you're prone, at least on a flat surface, sometimes if there's weird elevation, it is a little bit buggy and it doesn't work for you. But more often than not, if you're prone, you should be able to mount your gun on the ground, just like how you could mount your gun on the edge of a surface on the map. And with this, obviously this time we're seeing a massive difference between our base recoil and the recoil that we gain with the bipod, because we're now comparing mounted versus not mounted. And when you do mount on the ground with one of these bipods, it seems like it cuts down your total recoil by about 50%. That's a very, very big reduction to our recoil. And as a result, this is where we really start to see a lot of benefits come out with the bipod. And those right there are the two stated benefits of using the bipod, and obviously we see a much bigger benefit while prone, whereas mounting on a horizontal surface, like I said, honestly it's probably just not worth an attachment slot if you're specifically using it for that, because it's hardly going to have an impact on your recoil. Having said that though, these bipods affect more than just your recoil when using them. Another big thing that they impact is your aiming stability, and that's a pretty big deal in this game. There is a lot of sway when you aim down sight with most of the guns in this game. So let's have a comparison here. And first up, this is our control. This is without using a bipod attachment. And as you can see, if I'm standing here not mounted, there is a ton of sway. I'm swaying way off target there when I'm centered on the head. Whereas when I mount without a bipod, it very significantly cuts down on the sway, but if you pay really close attention, I'm still swaying around the area of the head. And at really, really long ranges, this could potentially still throw me off target. Now let's have a look at what this looks like when we are mounting with a bipod attachment equipped. And as we can see there, this practically eliminates your sway. If you were to zoom in and look really closely, like pixel by pixel, technically there's still some movement there, but I would call this like a 95+% reduction to our sway when you're mounting with a bipod. Whereas without a bipod, it definitely helps a lot, but not to this degree. And this is actually a bit more evident if we're looking at a sniper rifle, just because we're zoomed in a little more and it has more base sway. When we do mount without a bipod, this really does cut down significantly on our sway. However, when we're mounting with a bipod, it pretty much eliminates it. Again, there is a very slight amount of movement, but it's negligible. So this is yet another great thing about the bipod, and that's not even mentioning prone. Like I said earlier, you can't even mount on the ground without a bipod, so you're going to have a lot of sway. Whereas if you have the bipod and you mount on the ground, again, you're going to be practically eliminating that idle sway, which can definitely help with really long-range fights. So there we go, that's another noticeable benefit to using the bipod, although it only applies when you're mounting. And that's really all they state that the bipod has done. However, I often like taking things a little bit further because there's often hidden benefits with attachments that aren't mentioned in the description. And I specifically wanted to perform tests to see if the bipods carried over any of the benefits that bipods had in the previous Modern Warfare game, Modern Warfare 2019, and also by extension, Warzone 1. If you guys remember, with the bipods in that game, you didn't really gain the same mounting benefits, but instead, If you're using a bipod, you gained a pretty significant benefit to your recoil by crouching or prone. You didn't have to mount on anything. It was simply, if you were crouched and had a bipod equipped, you would be getting far better recoil than if you were crouching without a bipod equipped. So it was kind of just like a foregrip that only works if you're crouching or prone. If you're standing, it had no impact on your recoil. So I just wanted to see if perhaps that same sort of characteristic carries over to Modern Warfare 2, and it's just something they failed to mention in the description. And so what I did here is 3 recoil plots while standing, and then 3 recoil plots while crouched, and here is the overall comparison. As far as I can see here, the bipods are having no measurable impact whatsoever while crouched versus standing, and therefore it looks like these bipods are completely different from the bipods in Modern Warfare 2019. Unless you're mounting with them, you're not seeing any benefits, unless that bipod also has a stated benefit of helping with recoil control specifically, like in the case with the Bipod V9 grip. With this one, unlike all of the other bipods for the M4 at least, one of its stated pros is it's helping with recoil steadiness. And therefore, even when we aren't mounted, we are gaining some benefit to our recoil steadiness. Whereas for all of the other ones, the only pro is the bipod mount, so they gain the benefits of the bipod, but only when you're actually mounting with it. And that brings us to the final question here. Which one of these bipods is best? If you're going to be using a bipod, which one should you be using? And honestly, even if we look back to that horizontal recoil mounting plot where I stated that the cornerstone bipods seem to give us the best benefit to our recoil, they're all very comparable in this area. And when we look at the prone plots, it seems a little bit less obvious here. It really just seems like they all gain roughly the same benefits when being used as a bipod. And therefore, if you are going to be using a bipod, I would base my selection on what you're willing to lose. So I'd look toward the con side of things because all of these have a different con. With the first 2 bipods on the M4, for instance, their con is a reduction to aim down sight speed, whereas the next one is a reduction to aim walking movement speed, and then the final one, the X10 stable shot, harms our sprint speed. So that's more so what I'd be looking at if I was going for a bipod and I wanted to figure out which one I want to use. Focus more on the cons than the pros, since the pros seem to be at least roughly the same across all of them. And with that, that wraps it up for the breakdown of the bipods. Now I just wanted to quickly share my opinion on this. Are bipods worth using? In my opinion, at least for the 6v6 version of the game, I'd say generally speaking, no. You'd be better off just choosing a foregrip to help you reduce your recoil in all situations. Having said that though, I think there's definitely an argument for using the bipod in DMZ or maybe even Ground War or Warzone, because you're generally going to be seeing a lot more extremely long range fights. Additionally, I would say the bipod is great if you're specifically going for something like long shot camo challenges. And the main reason for this is due to the fact that you can mount anywhere by just going prone. You can just lay down and mount. You don't need to find an object on the map to mount on. You don't need to bring a deployable cover with you to place down and mount on. You can literally just lay down, mount your gun, and gain significant benefits to your idle sway as well as your recoil. And in doing so, you're also going to be getting far better recoil than mounting on a horizontal surface. Here's one last graphic to share with you guys just to show that mounting with a bipod while prone is going to give you very noticeably better recoil than mounting with a bipod or without a bipod on a horizontal surface. And therefore, this is going to be one of the best methods of getting consistent long shots, at least with certain guns. But with that, those are just my thoughts on the bipods now that I've broken them down and seen exactly what they do, and I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. What do you think of the bipod attachment in Modern Warfare 2? Do you like the fact that they changed it from Modern Warfare 2019 to where you now have to mount it in order to gain the benefits versus just crouching or going prone? And do you see yourself ever using bipods in the future? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.